Yeah, legal hustle, mega. You know what it is. It's choke, no joke about killing heat. Left my boo and my dudes when I saw the heat. Was going in 30 seconds, more like 23. Took flight like Mike, number 23. Before the indictment came, I split like Jada, didn't get wet like Kane. Got out the game. I went from the tunnel, now movie making. So it ain't no confusion why you dudes be hating. To the trees and the palms of dealers and fiends. Late night roam the streets. Weed is weaker, but it's cheaper. Not many chicks frontin' like divas. Out west, every chick's a model like Eva, and you know I'm far from believing her. So I'm G'ing her like she G'ing me. Banging in LA is a different thing. At the end, you either dead on the bang, getting out, doing better things. On Sunset, where they hang. Hollywood, where they hustle for change. Times Square here, it's the same. No matter where you go, you'll find a lane. On the west, they kick it with Kane. On the east, trees, the social thing. East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. Grab your raps, roll it up. If you rap, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. Grab your glasses, take a toast. If you rap, East Coast. When I'm on the west and I'm doing my thing, don't offer me coke or your nose I bang. Friends don't offer other deadly things. Thanks for the hospitality, we'll still hang. I won't judge you, leave me as I came. On the road to success, top of the game. Eat all the finer things in the food chain. Teach my kids to do the same. Whether East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. Grab your raps, roll it up. If you rap, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. Grab your glasses, take a toast. If you rap, East Coast. Gotta love life and offer wonderful things. Being the travel is a privileged thing. Came back to the east, air wasn't fresh. Streets filled with trash, various people in the eye. It's easy to tell who's upper middle class. Police and racism, same as crash. Back to where they not social, where they less vocal. When they don't know you, be careful, show you around the East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. Grab your raps, roll it up. If you rap, East Coast, whether East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. Pop your bottles and toss the cork. If you rap, West Coast. Both coasts are known to give you fame. Got paparazzi playing cameras your way. Got you bobbing and weaving like Cassius Clay. Most thugs turn Muslim in older days. Change their name to Allah they pray. Probably till they decay. This go out to the east and west. For Big and Pac, y'all let's connect. Whether East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. Grab your raps, roll it up. If you rap, West Coast. Whether East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. You can't get the West without the ES. So it's manifested that we connect. You know what it is. Choke, no joke. Learn from mistakes, baby. You know what it is. Greg on the track. Rest in peace, baby. Either war, we here now. You know what it is. Choke, no joke. Choke, no joke. You already know. Y'all know I love that cooch. You know what this is. I love that cooch. Yeah. It's the A thing. Clean cooch. Let's go. Yo, it's up. My nuts when I wake up. Got morning wood and I just bust one. In my mahogany, I'm Ron Isley. Between the sheets, and she want to ski. And just shout with me with what I thought was pee. She rolled the D, her water broke B. Not pregnant, but baptized me. down for more love, but change the shit. She said, please, I want more. Next thing I know, mattress dripping the floor from her juices. Oral had me stoned, had a Corinne and Medusa in one. And when I look in her eyes, between her thighs, I tell you no lie, ain't shit won't buy. I rob and take it, for me to taste it. Red Lobster, pussy, biscuit, freshly baked. Eat that coochie all night. She sprayed my face like Sugar Sprite. I love her. I eat her coochie all night. She sprayed my face like Sugar Sprite. I love her. Suck my nuts when I wake up. Got morning wood and I just bust one. In mahogany, I'm Ron Isley. Between the sheets, she want to ski and just shout with me with what I thought was pee. She rolled the D, her water broke B. Not pregnant, but baptized me. I'm down for more love, but change the sheet. She said, please, I want more. Next thing I know, mattress dripping the floor from her juices. Oral had me stoned, had a Corinne and Medusa in one. And when I look in her eyes, between her thighs, I tell you no lie, ain't shit won't buy. I rob and take it, for me to taste it. Red Lobster, pussy, biscuit, freshly baked. Eat that. They counted me out, 'cause I didn't wanna get down. Niggas talking about God there. What God? What God are you talking about? Say his name. This nigga went Eric Benet. Now the baddest girl won't show her face. You know your ass in the way when she show up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And you ain't even say her name, lame. You better say Dame. In the streets, we call you roadblock. Nigga, you shot. Nigga, you block rocks. Like when Chris was about to pop. Like MJ moonwalking like Spock. You abuse your power fast. You killed the thought that's black.
Jay told me in no certain terms that, you know, no rapper can really afford to look bad in front of him. So it's almost like we gotta blackball him.
Shout out to Jay-Z for seeing the big picture here.
Yeah, and it was a hard pill to swallow.
Tariq, you kill the weeds, not the seeds that grow the trees. And as long as you alive, Dame should have a milli. Fuck you mean bleed. Nigga, don't get me started. You know I'm retarded and lion-hearted. You flipped on your peeps for those peoples in them white sheets. Like you pro-black. We pass kneeling, how you shit on cap.
Did you kneel or would you stand?
Would I what?
Did you kneel or would you stand?
Okay, I think we passed kneeling.
Nigga, you got the check. The pros went back, and that's no cap. Leaving cap with no salary cap. Your son said you his dad, and you never threw him a pass. Watching his siblings in the stands, say lips, say no, say hands. You say the kid is not your son, they call you Hov, it must be immaculate. Choke, no joke, yeah. It's choke, no joke. Let's go.
Supreme, Bigger Fake, Dave Cap, The Warden, The Club King,
the DJ Johnny Walker Red,
MC Frank Jigger, the Celebrity's Choice,
Sean Brophy, sound engineer.
Choke, no joke.
legendary videographer.
Sterling Cox. I was the head of security.
Alpha Grenier.
My name is V.
Omega.
Big G.
Vim Rock from the legendary Naughty by Nature.
Styles P the Ghost, LOX, D Block.
Tech Smith and Wesson.
LB Fan, Mr. Cheeks.
The Cool, the DJ, the Red Alert.
Kid Capri.
The tunnel was a hip-hop nucleus.
It was the epicenter.
It was the domain, the temple.
It was the Mecca.
Nothing was that melting pot of hip-hop.
They kept the paradigm going.
It's almost like what Rucker did for street basketball. The tunnel was that of music industry.
My Sunday ritual going to the tunnel was, I'm telling you, your ass better be there.
We just pretty much did push-ups.
We had to drink a couple bottles of Hennessy, go get smoked.
Leave the jewelry and watches at home.
Before you even get to the tunnel, you gotta get on the block.
You started from 11th Avenue, and when you got to that door, the search procedures was no other.
First time I ever heard of take your shoes off, open your mouth was in the tunnel. It was damn near everything but a full cavity search.
Security at the tunnel was no joke.
The beatdowns did happen.
Some of them, if you had that chain out, that shit was leaving with one of them niggas. We had a handful of cats. When we were taking you out, they were digging in your pockets.
The code check at the tunnel was crazy because you ain't know if you was gonna get your shit back.
Sometimes the bloops happen where you might not get your coat.
A lot of boys wanted to get their girls some fur coats, you know, so I mean, it was free.
The bar was always on till after the tunnel.
You might get fake alcohol. Bartenders might have got counterfeit.
The dance floor is always rocking.
It looked like a video all the time.
The tunnel had a very unique situation at the bathroom. It was co-ed.
The bathroom was Sodom and Gomorrah.
I was like this, looking, trying to look past the dudes like when they was going in the urinal.
The tunnel was a one-stop shop. They had food, they had alcohol, drugs.
I saw weed the tub. It was just oozing money.
Backstage is like the club amongst the club.
That's where all the so-called stars who was scary to be in the crowd, that's where they hung out at.
The dopest things about the tunnel for me to remember is hearing my records get played up in there.
The top, maybe, of all-time tunnel banger.
Or anything Bad Boy.
Every Biggie record.
Any shit by Hov.
Shook Woods was bananas in there.
Nori Capone, that Bang Bang.
Annie up.
Any one of Buster joints.
Wild Out would actually start a fight.
The best performance I ever seen, Jay-Z performed in front of the DJ booth. The DJ booth was bouncing like a ball.
Snoop and Dre. When Dre was there.
DMX, Get At Me, Dog.
The king of the tunnel was Jay-Z.
Busta Rhymes.
DMX is the king.
Queen of the tunnel.
Mary J. Blige.
Foxy and Lil Kim.
Eve.
King of the tunnel record label-wise was Def Jam.
Bad Boy.
The best DJ at the tunnel was Flex.
Big Cap, all day. Flex used to break off the records, but he used to try to bully Cap, like, don't spin this, because when I get here, I want to spin it. No, nigga, fuck wrong with you?
What the tunnel did for artists, it solidified their street music.
That gave us a platform, set up Rough Riders, Rockefeller, Bad Boy, slew of other artists.
The closing of the tunnel, it was kind of sad because that was a big piece of hip hop.
So losing the tunnel was like a little kid losing Disney.
A famous mosque closing down.
I think when the tunnel closed, it was necessary. Niggas was coming to miss me.
When you hear people of the late 70s talked about Studio 54, the tunnel was the Studio 54 of hip hop.
Is this the motherfucking tunnel?
Choke, no joke, Chiggy choke, no joke. Choke, no joke, Chiggy choke, no joke. You know what it is. I'm in the building. I'm in the building. So check it out. As you know, I come through and do my thing. First and foremost, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Much love to everybody. All right. That tunnel documentary, you can get that on my website, Choke No Joke Productions with a S.com. You know, shout out to the person that just copped that. I can't think of your name right now. You know who you are. All right, that's where y'all can get it. All right. That's where you can get my documentary on the tunnel. ChokeNoJokeProductions.com. All right. So, as y'all know, your boy over here keep trying to talk mess, and I'm just like, I'm not going to dispute his lies no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, if y'all don't know that this fool is lying by now, it just don't I just don't know what to say. If one person is telling the same story and is telling it different ways out their own mouth, if you believe they're truthful, that's up to you. But being that he said he didn't disarm the bodyguards, Frank Alexander, and now Frank had his gun and all this other stuff. And then now he tried to talk about the walkie-talkie joint. Oh, he had his walkie-talkie, but it was dead. And then they never had no meeting about the security couldn't carry guns. Like this thing is trying to clean up so much stuff that he can't because he already said it. Like he already addressed it. Now I think this boy is losing his mind. He getting dementia or something, right? But I got proof that the stuff about the walkie-talkies, the guy, the telling the security that they couldn't have their guns because they was trying to get some license or something at 62. Y'all all heard it, right? But most of us, we saw that in Tupac assassination. We know that comes from Frank, right? So it would only be right for me to go to the source, right? So I gotta, I don't know if y'all ever seen Ghostbusters, you know what I'm saying? But I would be the black guy in Ghostbusters, right? So tonight we got the Wedgie Live Busters, and I'm bringing on my man Dan Aykroyd, aka Richie Bond. Here we
What's
go.
up? That was hilarious.
We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
We ain't afraid of no damn ghosts. Heck no. You kidding me? What's up, brother?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh man, I am good. It's a hump day, so I'm glad to be getting through the week now, man. You know, we're on the back side of it. So it's a good day. It's a good day.
Yeah. I hate to hit you about Professor X, but Professor X is out here mind screwing people again.
Yeah.
Now he's changing up the stuff about the meeting that they had with this the lawyer about them not having guns, and he's also saying now that all of a sudden now Frank had his walkie-talkie and it died. Like this, I think this dude is losing his mind, bro.
Yeah, I think that the you ever filled your hands with sand and you watch it fall through, watch the sand fall through your hands. Pretty soon you end up with empty hands. That seems to be his memory at this point. Is like, that sand is just leaking out of it as it goes. One thing I always told Frank, and I get dig people, not by fans, not by knuckleheads, but by like that side of the fence, and they sit there and say, oh, you were trying to tell Frank, don't apologize to Reggie Wright and everything like that. And I never said anything like that. But what I always told Frank was, remember what you said, because the Bible says, well, I'll be held accountable for every word that comes out of our mouths, period.
Right.
Okay. So when I give somebody advice and I say, just remember what you've been saying for years, okay, well, that advice would be true to Wedgie as well, because he done said a lot of things, and and so a day that he's spewing some BS is a day that ends in Y. Okay, it's something that I'm baffled about, but I said a long time ago, just let him keep talking. He'll sink his own ship. He'll do it. Because the thing about telling the truth, if you tell the truth,
well, we have a new phrase for that. It's
Yeah.
called KPDing yourself.
Yeah, right. Exactly. He done that. When you tell the truth about something, it's usually always the same. It's the same. It's the same. It's the same. when you make up bullshit about things, especially 30-year-old things, you can't keep up to remember. Even if your brain is like in 100% shape, and I guarantee you his brain is not 100% shape, okay? It's like 20% needing a recharge. But at this point in the ball game, even if your brain was 100%, every time you tell somebody something that's not true, your brain has to remember it. You have to think about it and remember what you told this person. I mean, silly example, my kid will come in and he'll tell me something. Did you clean your room? He'll say no. I say, why? He said, because I was doing this. So I go and I ask him a little bit later, well, you said you did this. Oh, I did. You know, they don't remember to keep track of the bullshit. Okay.
Right.
And that's the problem. When you got 30 years of a track record of telling somebody something, oh, you know, my favorite one is the only time I ever told anybody to lie was I told Frank Alexander to lie because Tupac was going to make a citizen's arrest. I was smart. Tupac is going to make a citizen's arrest. That genius. Now, so
wait, can you explain that to the people? What you're talking about? Because some may not know about what Reggie did.
I think it's going to be one of my all-time favorite Veggie videos. He has a video out there where he says the only time he told Frank Alexander to lie about a chain snatch. Now, we all heard the story about the fight at the MGM, and it was supposed to be because of some chain that was stolen. Turns out it wasn't ever stolen. And this story just changes, and, you know, you kind of find out that didn't happen. But there's this whole thing about a chain being snatched, and Reggie told Frank Alexander early on, like the night of the shooting, that if the Vegas police asked about things, you need to tell him that Orlando Anderson didn't steal the chain back at the Lakewood Mall, that Orlando Anderson stole the chain directly from, I don't even know if he even said who he stole it. That he stole a death row chain. Okay. And I guess they were assuming that Trayvon was with them when they went into the MGM, but that Orlando Anderson stole the chain that day. So therefore, later on that evening, when they see when they see Trayvon, or Trayvon sees Orlando Anderson, then they say, oh, let's go get him because he stole the chain earlier that day. So it sounds good because, you know, it's like payback. You know, you took it earlier that day. That was a lie, flat out lie. And Reggie told Frank to lie to the police. Okay. Now, the thing about that is that, and again, this is what dude forgets, because, you know, when you got that sieve for a brain and you can't remember anything, one thing you don't remember is that I want to say it was assassination Battle for Compton. I think it was, in fact. Okay. Pays to watch the movies. You know, that's the thing. Pays to kind of like study. Mm-hmm. He told Frank Alexander on the phone, and we have the phone call where he told Frank Alexander again to repeat that chain snatch story. He said he only told him to lie one time. And he said, I told Frank Alexander to lie about that chain because I was going to get Tupac out of hot water. And maybe he would violate his probation if he attacked Orlando Anderson, but I was going to get him out of it because I'm smart. I'm Reggie. I'm a smart cop. And I'm going to say, oh, Tupac was going to make a citizen's arrest against Orlando Anderson, that he went running over there because he saw that chain got snatched and that Tupac was going to make a citizen's arrest on Orlando Anderson. Okay. How stupid is that? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Okay. I mean, I couldn't imagine.
Hey, do you have that audio where you can play it now?
You got to Reggie saying that where he's going to make a citizen's arrest. Yeah, you can do that. I mean, you want to hit the copyright strike because I don't know. I don't want you to know if you want the.
Oh no, is it? I thought it was your. No.
Oh no, no. As far as the tape goes of him saying that's in Battle for Compton. If you give me a minute, maybe I can find it. But he told Frank, okay, now you got to understand. Reggie says in his video, it's the only time I ever told Frank to lie. The only time, oh, by the way, he says the only time I've ever told anybody to lie. Well, you got to know that's bullshit right there. You're talking about your whole lifetime. You never asked anybody to lie about anything for you. Give me a fucking break. Okay.
He's lying.
Yeah,
Like,
okay. You're lying about lying.
right.
So now I never lied to you. Okay, guess what? Well, here's the funny part about it, okay? He said that he didn't have that he'd ever told Frank. He told Frank to lie that one time, and that was the only time he ever told Frank to lie. Okay. What he doesn't understand, what this fool doesn't understand, and John, bootleg Jay, he don't understand either, because he should be watching this shit to know what they're talking about. In the movie, we have a recorded phone call that took place weeks after Tupac was killed. And Reggie's talking to Frank on the phone. And Reggie's talking to Frank. Now, mind you, Tupac's dead. So they ain't no citizen's arrest. They ain't nothing about no citizen's arrest. Tupac's dead. So when they go, and Reggie wants Frank to go with Edie, I don't mean, and go up to the Vegas Police Department, because David Kenner called the Vegas Police Department and said, we have 2 witnesses that can identify Orlando Anderson as the shooter. And they said, you do? And they, who? And they said, and David Kenner said, Frank Alexander and Malcolm Greenwich. And they said, oh, bring them up. So Reggie told Frank, and this phone call wanted Frank to go to Vegas with Reggie and Edie, I don't mean, and go to the Vegas PD and tell that lie again. He said, if you go look at a picture of him, that'll refresh your memory, plus that story you told about the chain. Those are his exact words. Okay? This motherfucker lied again because he don't even keep track of what's already been in a movie that's been out for 7 years. That's been out there for 7 years, Choke.
So in that audio,
for 7 years.
So in that audio, he's telling Frank and to go with him to Vegas with Edie and giving him the layout of what to say.
Right. Yep. Because David Kenner, and he even admits it in the recording. He even admits it.
Now here's my thing right here, right? Because we don't have to talk. We don't care to talk about his lies no more.
No.
Let's just talk about the facts, right?
Yep. Yes.
How could Reggie call Frank and tell him what transpired when he wasn't there?
Well, that's right. Well, he just said, what he asked Frank to do was to go to the Vegas police and identify Orlando Anderson. He came out and just basically said that.
Who saw if
Frank never saw Orlando Anderson.
Didn't see Orlando Anderson,
Frank
right?
didn't see Orlando Anderson.
If Frank didn't see Orlando, and Edie didn't see Orlando, and Gaddafi didn't see Orlando,
right?
And Buntree and them didn't see Orlando, why is Reggie on the phone? Y'all go look this up. Go watch the film yourself. Battle for Compton. Listen to Reggie say, tell Frank to go finger Orlando Anderson. Why? If Reggie was not there at the MGM to see the fight, y'all, if he was not in the caravan, y'all, to see the shooting, why is he telling Frank to go identify Orlando Anderson?
Yep. Well, because they're trying to keep up a narrative. That's the best way I can explain it. They're trying to keep up a false narrative. Now, let me finish that story, though, because this is the best part. So Veggie convinces Edie, I don't mean, to go up to Las Vegas. And they go without Frank. Frank says he's not going to tell that lie again. He ain't going to do it again. Okay. And in fact, it was right after that when he called Brett Becker up and he said, they told me to lie about the chain the first time I talked about it. So he told them right after. That's when he made the decision. He's like, I'm coming clean. I don't fuck with the police. I'm coming clean on this. I'm going to tell him that I lied and I was told to lie. And he was. But when Edie, I mean, gets up to the Vegas police and Reggie takes him up there, they say, okay, David Kenner said you can identify the shooter. Edie Amin says, I never told anybody I could identify the shooter. I don't know what you're talking about. Brett Becker blew a valve on that one. Okay. He said, all right, put up or shut up, Ace. You say you're there, but he goes, but Reggie Wright Jr. is the one that brought him to that interview. That's the quote from Brett Becker. That's in the movie too. That he brought Edie Amin up there and they told, see, Kenner told Vegas police that they, according to Reggie, now this ain't my words, this is coming in that phone call. He told Frank that Kenner had already called Vegas police and told Vegas police that 2 people could identify Orlando Anderson as the shooter. That's what he told Frank on that phone call. So now, oh, I never lied to anybody. I only told Frank to lie one time. No, motherfucker, you told Frank to lie twice, and you told him to retell the chain snatch story that was bullshit on the day it was told, and you're asking him to repeat it again. This is weeks later, and guess what? It's got nothing to do with Tupac doing a citizen's arrest, does it? You ain't going to tell that lie to get Tupac out of any trouble now, are you? See, this is what he doesn't remember because the brain is gone.
So what this tells me, you're not going to tell me that he didn't allegedly orchestrate this shooting assassination on Tupac and Suge, right? I said allegedly, right? The reason I see that now, okay, you're talking 2 weeks later. Yeah. And he's trying to get Frank to identify Orlando Anderson.
Yeah.
With Robert, Bobby Ladd's testimony, with Reggie's testimony, he testified in the grand jury within minutes of the shooting. He called his father and told him Southside did it.
Yeah.
Now, Edie didn't see it. Frank didn't see it. K-Dub didn't see it. Trayvon didn't see it or say nothing. None of these people that were there identified
4 girls in the car.
In their statements, a particular shooter, not yet alone said Southside. And you got Reggie calling his father, identifying the shooters at Southside. You got his father calling Bobby Ladd or Robert Ladd, and him and his partner, Blondie and Ladd, they called them. They called them, told them Southside did it. The war's coming to Compton, which I feel personally incited the war because the police spread the word that Southside shot the mob or Suge and Pac, and they spread the word before they even got back home.
Well,
right?
There was yes, you're right about everything.
How do Reggie know in the beginning?
He didn't know.
How does he know in the night of to call his father to say that it was Southside? And then he's trying to get Frank and Edie and whoever to identify Orlando as the shooter.
Yeah, and make up the story about the chain snatch and retell the lie about the chain snatch. Okay, that's the thing. By the way,
that chain snatch story is bullshit. I got to talk to you about that off the record.
Okay, yeah. Well, I know it is. Bullshit. I know that it is because it was right after that happened. Right after Frank refused to go to Las Vegas and tell that bullshit story, that the chain snatch story suddenly changed. It went from it happened that day to it happened once upon a time in the Lakewood Mall that this thing all happened. And by the way, you're going to tell me Trayvon Lane gets mugged by some gang guys in a Foot Locker. 5 months go by, okay? And no one's told him who did it.
And no,
come on.
Fuck who nobody told who did it. You tell me y'all went the road, y'all ain't ride on him. Y'all gotta wait till all the way to
5 months. Man. 5 months. Yeah, 5 months. You know, and the thing is that what makes this interesting to me is that the whole narrative that the Vegas prosecutors are trying to sell right now to the jury is this whole idea of instant karma, that if you get somebody beats you up, it's important to a gang. It's critical. They keep saying it over and over again. You read the deposition. When they say over and over, it's so important for you to get payback right away. You got to get payback because the gang's going to look down on you. You're going to get hazed. You're going to catch all this shit if you don't hit immediately. So Orlando Anderson hit immediately. Okay, then why Trayvon wait 5 months?
Right, about the chain that
if it even happened,
got took.
Yeah, right. Now, then we find out from Bobby Ladd and Tim Brennan, and then he perjures himself by saying, "Oh yeah, the chain got stolen." Then later on, a real smart juror in the grand jury says, wait a minute, did it get stolen or did it not get stolen? And he realized he'd been caught. And he's like, well, we thought it was, but it really wasn't. So there was no chain stolen. There was no, everybody agrees. And that story is a myth. But
yeah,
it was
that chain
enough.
story's a myth. That's another shit that allegedly Reggie put that shit out there. Just like he tried to get Frank.
Get Frank to say it. You know, it was payback.
That shows me his involvement in this.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how the FBI can't see through this dude and look at, well, maybe they don't watch his videos like that.
No. They see through this dude. You ever heard the term useful idiot? Have you ever heard that term before? A useful idiot?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because he'll talk and he talks to the feds. He even said it himself to Phil Carson. You know I cooperate. You read the 302s on me. You know I'm willing. I cooperate. Okay. He told him that. He told the world that. Okay. So that means like my dog, when I come in the room and my dog rolls over, okay, puts his belly out like that. When the FBI show up with Reggie, that's what happens. He goes, woo. All right. Any law enforcement agency goes, Reggie, oh, and now his latest is, well, if you don't like that I'm an informant, then fuck you. Oh, well, okay.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Like, hold on.
Okay.
And then it's like he keeps saying, oh, I'm doing my job. Motherfucker, you ain't been a cop since your feet was swollen. Like, what are you talking about?
Since you done shot yourself in the foot. Well, the thing about it is that, okay, he can justify it however he wants to justify it. Bottom line is that FBI, ATF, the Compton PD, the Vegas PD, the LAPD, they know that if they need to get some information from somebody, who are they going to talk to? They're going to call Reggie up. Reggie's going to be just like Wheel of Fortune. They spin and they get the jackpot, okay, like a slot machine. He just pays, pull the arm, he just pays like a slot machine. They know they're going to get information from him. They don't really care about what it is he's doing. Like with a lot of informants, you got to understand that, Choke. With a lot of informants, the cops kind of look the other way to some of the dumb shit that you're doing if they think that the information you can give them will lead to a bigger fish. Sometimes they'll let that penny ante stuff. Like I watched that movie Heat.
Yeah, but
okay?
he's the whale. In the Tupac murder, he's the whale, bro.
As they say in there's always a bigger fish. There's always a bigger fish. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, look at that. Well, that
would be
the case he got indicted on. Okay. He wasn't a top dog. He was just a link in the chain, man. He was part of the distribution chain. Okay. So what I look at is cops oftentimes, like you saw that movie Heat, Al Pacino goes to a chop shop. He's looking for a dude. They ain't arresting nobody in that chop shop, but they know full well what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing in there. But see, they turn a blind eye to that because the information that Slick can give them is better than busting them on some bullshit chop thing. Okay.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of hustles that cops will ignore because of useful idiots. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess the bigger fish then would be would be the LAPD. Allegedly.
Well, I mean, I think once the FBI has popped your cherry in terms of giving information up, I think that all the other Fed agencies just call them on the phone, call the FBI, say, "Who's your guy? Oh, let me tell you who this guy is over here." Okay. Right. I mean, it's just one of those things where it is what it is. I mean, he can try to jog to the left and jog to the right. He kind of reminds me of like a running back in a football game where he's like pop to the left and try to head fake to the right and kind of go around this way and try to end run and go like do this, man. He stops, he kind of does this, he's looking for an opening and then he gets tackled, he gets back up again. Okay, time for a new play. But when
that's what he's doing right now with this Tupac conspiracies.
This is what he's doing.
Let me talk about all the shit that I got busted on.
Yeah, he's gonna be like that. He's doing the head fake like that. Okay, so when So the thing about it is that, and again, I keep scratching my head because when he talks about, let's talk about this latest thing about the radios and the conspiracy theory debunking that he's trying to do. He's trying to make himself out to be, you know, the truth teller.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had the nerve to show. They had a nerve to show a walkie-talkie a Suge car. Like, that's not a Nextel phone, man. Stop the bullshit.
No. Well, the thing about it is that, look, he said that the Nextels are expensive phones. He said those Nextel are expensive phones. Choke. Listen, man, you're $100 million plus company. Okay. If you thought it was important enough that you give it to your bodyguards, I think the money was there to do it. So, you know, don't act like you're eating out of a Tupperware and you're eating mac and cheese every night because that damn steak costs too much money. They'll go spend $500 a person at Monty's Steakhouse. Okay.
Man, they all had front row seats at the fight. Them shits is probably 10,000 a pop. Like, and Suge was not cheap. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And everybody wherever Reggie needed, he gave it to them, right? So if they needed security, let's leave him out of it. Let's leave Suge out of it. Let's leave Death Row out of it.
Yep.
Like I said, we ain't even got to talk about this motherfucker lives. Let's just talk about how incompetent his ass is. You got a security company.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at BET, right?
Mm-hmm.
They hired a security company. These people, they come in with a crate full of a big ass charger, and they got like 20 slots in it, and all the walkie-talkies go in there. Right?
Oh, by the way, let me tell you something. Any one of those Motorola radios is more expensive than the Nextel phones were.
Exactly.
Them big walkie-talkies, them heavy duty, you know, them bricks, brick walkie-talkies you wear on your waist. I did security when I was in my 20s. I worked for Universal Studios. You know, they gave us them big Motorola phones, okay, back in the 90s. Here's the deal. Those things cost more than the Nextel phones cost, even back during those times. So it's like, so I made a decision to give a phone to the artist, but not the 4 bodyguards protecting him. Okay. I mean, yeah, he's already admitted he don't know what the fuck he's doing with the security company anyway. He's already admitted as such. So it's kind of like, well, this is just par for the course. But
yeah, but I'm saying, what security company is people watching right now that probably work at a security company? They know when they come into work to go over there, grab a walkie-talkie, sign it out. You know what I'm saying? And everybody has a walkie-talkie. Like, what security company you was working for a multi-million-dollar company that hired you, and everybody don't have walkie-talkies?
And by the way, simple problem with his whole logic chain here. Let's just break it down for a second. He said that he gave the phones to the artist. Then why did Kevin Hackey have the phone?
Exactly. Liar. And then he said, oh, this other guy, security guard, he may have had a phone too. That's why I said, yo, this dude, he just sit there and he just talking, don't realize how stupid he make himself look. You just keep getting busted. I don't understand. Well, I do understand now.
That's why Phil Carson kept telling him. Phil Carson kept telling him, I'm trying to save you from yourself.
Right.
I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to save you for yourself, because clearly you're wanting to drive your truck into that wall as fast as you can. Okay? Put the hammer down 100 miles an hour into the block wall. Okay? I've been watching some YouTube videos recently where I don't know if it's a video game or what. You seen them where they drive the different cars into a wall and it shows how fucked up they get? You watch them videos? Okay. Yeah. Well, that's Veggie. Veggie's the car driving into that wall as fast as he possibly can to see how fucked up he can get and walk away. Okay. Time after time after time, he keeps driving himself into that wall by telling another whopper. You know?
Yeah, I just don't I don't understand how authorities just can't see, just from him talking, his involvement in this shit. Like, I just don't see how they just don't, like, his talk is more guilty than Keefy D's talking if you have a half a brain. Because Keefy D can't even remember the story.
No, that's again, like I said, when you tell lies and they're nothing but lies, you have to keep track. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It takes a sharp mind to keep track of all the bullshit that you told this person or told that person or said this interview and said that interview. The problem is none of these guys are mental giants. So when they go in there, they can't remember what they've said. So they just say whatever because they forgot that they told this other person this other bullshit. You know, that's the problem. It just the lies again. You know, he thinks he's clearing shit up. All he's doing is murking the water more. And I'll tell you the same thing that I've said about Gene Deal, the same thing that I've said about Frank Alexander, the same thing I'm going to say to Reggie Wright. Honestly, y'all need to shut the fuck up, all of you, because if you ever thought you would be a credible witness at trial, okay, now that like that video right there, and you better be damn sure I downloaded that video. I made sure I got a copy of that video.
Me too.
Back all this shit up. Okay.
Me too. Me too.
So, and I told my knuckleheads what program you can use to download it to make sure you have a copy. I said, don't put it back out, but keep yourself a copy just to remember what was said. Now, here's the thing about it. You're a witness and you go into trial and you're going to get up there for the Vegas PD and you're going to say, oh, I said this and this and this, and they're going to put him up there. He's going to say, oh, yeah, and this, that. Defense witness is going to say, okay, I just watched your YouTube videos where you talk about the radios and giving your security guards radios. You want to explain that?
Right.
The minute that happens, it's going to go like this. Okay, this is the credibility meter. It's going to start doing this the more he talks until that jury's going to be, oh, who this fucking guy is? Who's this guy?
Right.
They're going to say, who's this guy? And again, that's I've said about Gene Deal. I told it to Frank. Remember what you say. Because if you ever think, and this is the whole thing, he's praying that there's a Keith Davis. Because I heard him saying something like, we're trying to fuck with the investigation. We're trying to ruin the investigation. Let me tell you something, man.
Oh, yeah, me and you. Yeah, me and you trying to muddy up.
Let me tell you something. If you got such a tight investigation, your investigation's so airtight that you don't have a worry in the world about it. You see OJ's attorneys worried about somebody ruining the investigation? No. They didn't ruin the investigation. I mean, I think Reggie's out there with OJ looking for the real killer somewhere, okay? You know, it's on that level. It's on that level. It's reached the bullshit has reached operatic proportions. Okay?
Reggie like this. He went over there with the smoking gun in his back pocket. He ran that way.
Yep. Yeah. He's like, I heard somebody talking about recently about.
He looked like Orlando Anderson. Yeah, it was Orlando Anderson.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, with the chain in his hand, running down the street with the death row chain in his hand. Okay. So again.
Oh, and here's the other thing. Now he says Michael Moore didn't hear the got him. How could he have heard that in the club as loud as it is? Motherfucker, y'all was getting in the car. Y'all was by the car. Y'all was outside.
Yeah, he was outside because he said that he was standing outside. See, this is another bullshit. He also said that he was standing outside the club when all of the cops went code 3 and they all jumped in their cars and took off. You ain't in the club when that happens.
Got him. Got him. You got him. You got him. There you go. You got him. Lying motherfucker, bro.
He said it. Words out of his own mouth. You know, that's it. Well, that's what you keep giving him rope. You know, that's what this is. Because when you say that and then you make a lie and said it was in the club, I've heard both stories. Okay. You're in the club, you're out of the club, you're in the club, you're out of the club. Just depends on what day of the week it is, that what story you want to hear. He's got a story for everybody. Okay. But at the end of the day, I keep saying, and this is the thing, and I would tell him this, all kidding aside, all punching aside, all this aside, I would say this to any person who's going to be a witness in a case. See, they're not going to call me as a witness. I wasn't there. I had nothing to do with it. Okay. So I talk about things all day long. So can you. If you're going to be a witness in a trial, Shut the fuck up. Period. Shut the fuck up. Because like a suspect, anything you say can and will be used against you. Okay? That's the thing. You go to court, and so all these people that say they love Biggie or they love Pac or they like these guys. I mean, at least Michael Moore had the stones to say he didn't like Tupac. Okay?
Yeah.
He still protected him. He didn't like him. Okay? Les Galden didn't necessarily like Tupac because Tupac asked him to go get a gun for him or something like that. And he wasn't keen on that. He didn't think that's what a security guy should do. But the thing is, these guys still protected them. Okay? When you
Reggie
have,
ain't like Tupac.
right. Well, yeah, and that showed. Okay. But my point is that if you think that you got such a great case against Keefe D and you're going to be a witness in the trial, stop making fucking YouTube videos because there will be a defense attorney in this case. There will be. And it ain't going to be like the grand jury where you can just say whatever the fuck you want and nobody's going to challenge it. Okay? Because I promise you, they're going to find some motherfucker like me that knows his shit to be sitting on the other side with the defense, and they're going to say, you want to torpedo this guy? Ask him this.
Yep.
You want to torpedo this guy? Ask him this.
Yep.
Ask Bobby Ladd why he lied in his grand jury testimony and said the chain got stolen when he wrote in his book 6 years earlier that chain never got stolen. Why'd you say it got stolen in your grand jury testimony? Why'd you perjure yourself? Number one. Number two, then when the juror caught you, then you changed your story. How do we expect for a minute you credible? And by the way, didn't you write in your book that Orlando Anderson tried to shoot you? You got motive. You have motive to pin this guy. There's a term that the cops use. Steve Strong taught me this. There's a term that they use. It's called pin this guy. When the cops want to nail somebody, they call it pinning him. And they say, we're going to pin this guy. Bobby Ladd, Tim Brennan, don't know him from Adam. Credibility, zero, as far as I'm concerned, especially that bullshit affidavit that they pushed through. You got to understand, Compton had their own courts. It wasn't like today where you go to the county court or you go up to the state court and you do that. Those days, Compton had its own municipal court and its own municipal judges in a little town. How hard do you think it was to get that judge to sign on that warrant that Tim Brennan put out with all that confidential informant shit in there? Okay. Right. That search warrant, they just walked that through. Okay. Signed off, his buddy knew it. They all knew each other. Here, sign this and let's go shake the place up. Okay. But when you say in your book, you're a witness, Bobby Ladd's going to get up there and be called as a witness now. Okay. In Keefe D. Okay.
And him and Reggie, they violating the grand jury rules. You don't supposed to be talking about this publicly.
Well, there's perfect thing one, but I'm going to tell you another thing that just gets me. Let's talk about Keith Davis for a minute. How his foolishness ended up. I just found this out. I talked to a very good friend of mine who is I'm going to put my head on backwards now for this one. I talked to a good friend of mine who, you know what, I'm getting serious about. Should I put my head on backwards because I can shoot that way. When I talked to a good friend of mine who's a criminal defense attorney, big name, and he said to me that there in state of California, there's a law. It's called the Corpus Cop-Out law. Corpus Cop-Out. Okay, y'all look it up. It relates to corpus delicti. Many people think that's confused. But what it says in the state of California, it says that if all you have is just your word that you said you did a crime, and there's no other evidence that you did a crime other than your word, case dismissed. Corpus Cop-Out.
I see it.
Okay. Now, here's what I think must have happened, and this says a lot about Keith Davis. Okay. Check this out. Okay. Corpus Cop-Out. Okay. There's got to be something that they can use as external evidence, and it can't just be hearsay evidence. They're going to try that. Okay. but that's what that's called. Okay. And you notice underneath it says coerced and false confessions. Okay. Now, so they're going to say corpus cop-out rule. Now, here's what I think. I think that when Keith Davis was writing his book, he was living in Compton at the time. He's living in California. This is California law. Okay. I think that he got told it's okay to do your book. It's okay to talk about these things in California because you're under the corpus cop-out rule. I don't know that they have that same law in Nevada. Okay. So this guy decides he's going to move to Nevada and just assumes the laws are the same. Every state has its own laws. Okay.
Right.
Okay. See, you can't see, if you notice there, it says, for example, if a person tells the police that they committed a murder, but no body was found, or person claimed missing, then the prosecutor couldn't prove a case solely on the confession. Well, they have Tupac's body, but the more important thing is that they need some other evidence. That's why you have a fingerprint, a hair, a fiber. That's why they did the search warrant. If all they needed was Keith Davis's word, then they wouldn't have needed to go on and done that search warrant. They were looking for something else to tie him to it because that would have made his case stronger. Okay. But see, that's a California thing. Nevada may not have that same rule. And Jughead was stupid enough to move from California, where he got the advice, to Nevada, probably didn't talk to anybody out there. Okay. And his attorneys and the people that would have given him the advice, they're California attorneys. They would have given you advice in California. So if you stay in California, well, look at what happened for the last 20 years. He's been search warranted by LAPD. Keith Davis's house has been searched like 3 or 4 times. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's used to it. But in California, they've never brought anything up against him. Why? Greg Kading couldn't pin him. Why? Okay.
And they said that they interviewed him in '97 about the Tupac murder.
Right.
And the FBI clearly, if the FBI didn't arrest him, they knew he didn't have shit to do with it.
That was Poole. Yeah, Poole was involved with that. Okay. Russ Poole was involved with that. Okay.
Right.
So when you look at that and then forget, I'm not even talking about the proffer session problem. I'm not even talking about that. There's a whole different wrinkle right there. You throw that in, that complicates it even more. But just on the corpus cop-out rule, okay? And I'm not talking about the exact rule, but I'm talking about the understanding that you have to have more than just, because I'm not an attorney, I ain't giving no legal advice. You have to have more than just somebody saying they did something. Okay, right. That's it. You have to have more than that. And
they don't have nothing.
And 30 people in a line saying he told me this, or he told, no matter how detailed it is. Okay, look at J.R.R. Tolkien. He wrote that book, Lord of the Rings. Okay, complete fantasy. How detailed was that book? That was stupid detailed. Okay, they can make a movie out of it because it was so detailed, but it's all fantasy. It's all made up. So just because you make something up doesn't mean that it can't be detailed, that you can't have thought it through, or over time, you think of more things to add to the story as it goes. Okay.
That's what Reggie do.
Story changes minute by minute. Okay. But I think Keith Davis, I don't know why he decided to move to Las Vegas. Maybe the weather's, I don't think the weather's better. My God, you live in California. The weather's nicer than Vegas. Vegas is just hot all the time, Yeah,
but I wonder if he could still use that corpus rule.
Corpus cop out?
Yeah, I wonder if he can still be able to use it.
We'll know tomorrow, won't we? Tomorrow is his arraignment. He'll be arraigned tomorrow. We're going to find out if Ross Goodman is sticking around or if he's trying to.
I just seen something on TMZ. He's going to have a public defender.
Is he?
He couldn't pay for it. Yeah.
He couldn't come up, then he's fucked, because that public defender is going to roll right over on him. That public defender is going to roll right over on him. He just sealed his own fate there. Because they don't, the thing about public defenders, they don't represent you.
No, they part of the system.
Yeah. That's it. They get him to take a deal for a lesser crime. So sayonara there, Keefy. If that's the
Yeah,
thing.
because if he ain't get a paid lawyer, that's where he's gonna be screwed at. Because they gonna be playing right along with Reggie. And Reggie, he said that he was in Vegas, I think, in the last week or two, working with the DA.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he ain't no snitch, right?
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm
You're
just working
not a
with the DA,
cop
but I'm
no
no
more,
snitch.
bro. You're not a cop no more.
Yeah.
You're not a cop no more.
He's,
So what do you
he's
say?
not
You
Kojak.
have a security company.
Yeah. Nope. He ain't Kojak. He's no Jack at this point. Okay. That's an old reference there. That's for all us old heads. Kojak.
Right.
But
Right. Telly survivors.
yeah, but he's no Jack at this point. Maybe low Jack. I don't know. But the thing about it is that what information are you giving to the DA that's so important?
I got your answer for that.
Okay.
It was him.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, he did it. Yeah.
So they don't look at him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To me, everything points to him. The him being incompetent and given as a security company, not providing communication between the 20 to 25. And this is the other thing. He had 20 to 25 officers, he said, working for him from LA and Vegas at the 662 that night.
Well, first off,
do you really believe that Suge is going to have a bunch of police in his club with a bunch of gang niggas in there?
No,
like they're going to be comfortable partying with all Reggie's fucking police buddies in there? You really believe that? And these niggas want to smoke their weed and all that other. Come on, bro.
No, the Vegas police were standing outside for crowd control. Probably a handful of them or not. Because see, you got to understand something. All these motherfuckers got to get paid. Okay, if you're going to have Vegas police standing outside your nightclub, directing traffic and standing around and patting people down or doing what they're going to do, first off, why would you tell Frank Alexander to take his gun to Club 662? If there are no guns at Club 662, then why did Reggie have a gun? Why did Michael Moore, who's the only guy he said he wouldn't take off his gun? You go to Club 662. Wait a minute. Okay, let me get this straight. No guns at the club. But then you got this one brother who's saying, I ain't taking my gun off for nobody. Oh, well, then you go to the front of the club. You go to the front door of the club then. The club where there's no guns. Okay? See how ludicrous this is? It's so ludicrous. I mean, it's just the more you think about it, and I tell this to knuckleheads all the time. I say, do your critical thinking. Be a critical thinker. Because the minute you try to apply any real logic to any of this, it fails. It falls apart like crumbling crackers. Okay, right. It just falls apart, man. How are we doing on the comments?
Oh, we good.
Yeah,
we good. I may. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll let some people come in and ask some questions because I don't think we got to do that last time.
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
I see some familiar names. I see some familiar names in the chat. It's good.
Yeah. So if y'all want to call, I'll put the phone number up. If you want to come on the screen, y'all got any questions or comments, for myself or RJ Bond, I just dropped the link. All right. Let me grab my phone and put the phone number up here. Okay, I'm gonna give y'all 5 minutes. If you want to come on, you guys anything to say, I'll even take the ones in the
I'll
comments.
answer. I see a chat comment that I can answer. And the question comes from Boo Gold. Greetings. Says RJ, are there any more Frank Alexander secret recordings? I have about 10 hours of Frank Alexander secret recordings. Okay. Y'all have heard probably 20 minutes of it. Okay. Of these recordings. So yes, the answer to that question is yes. And all will be revealed in time.
Hey, didn't you want to play something tonight? Remember we talked about something? You said you was gonna play something tonight.
I
forgot what it was.
I don't know. And can I?
Was,
if I do, can I? I don't know if I can do that. Let me see something real quick here.
I forgot. You remember what it was?
Take some questions.
All right, cool.
Take some questions and maybe let me see if I can make that happen.
Jose says, RJ Barnes, did you say Bad Boy Security failed Puffy and Biggie?
Well, is Biggie alive?
That's the answer to that. Let me put this phone number over here.
I mean, you're hired to protect somebody's life. If they die, I think you failed them. Now, the question is, is that
that applies to Reggie too?
Well, absolutely. Hold on, I'm going to go mute for a second. I have to check something.
All right. Darian, I see you. Hold on. All right, y'all. Instagram, I'm going to put this phone number up here. If you want to call the Choke No Joke hotline. You got a question? All right. Peace. What up, brother? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. Man, doing good, man.
Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Texas, man, from Austin, Texas.
Hey, what's up?
What's your name?
My name Darian.
Darian, what's good? What you got to add to this conversation?
Hey, man, peace to you first, man. I've been following you since the tunnel days, man. Excuse me, I stutter, brother. So my question is, how come nobody from Foot Locker has been subpoenaed or arrested footage from the Foot Locker?
That's a good question. RJ, you got something for that?
Yeah. You know what? Well, yeah, because I'll take you and I'll raise you one. When Tim Brennan did the affidavit back now it's it's been 30 years. They probably destroyed all the records and maybe there's a police report, but after 20 years they archive all that stuff and put it in like Indiana Jones back in the the warehouse. But ask yourself this question. When Tim Brennan wrote that bullshit affidavit for the search warrant that happened like within days of the shooting, if there was a Lakewood Mall incident, that incident would have only been 5 months old. How come he didn't go get an incident number or a police report or even, or a witness or say Deputy so-and-so responded? How come he never got proof of that and put it in that affidavit? Because when you say something like that happened, you want some proof that had actually happened. But he didn't even bother 5 months later, going to get that information. And my question will be, why? Why not? Why didn't he do that?
My second question, can I ask a second one?
Sure.
All right, my second question is, if Keefe is being charged for the murder of Tupac, shouldn't he be charged for the attempted murder on Suge Knight and all types? Because they shot out the back window of this Sebring, so that should be recklessment with like a weapon or something.
Yeah, the answer that one real quick is the statute of limitations is up on those crimes. Murder don't have no statute of limitations. That's why he's still being charged now. But for attempted murder, the statute of limitations in Vegas is only like 3 years.
All right. Then if I could ask just one more question, man, that's my last one. If so, you have the circle of Sharita Knight, Reggie. Me personally, I don't believe Puffy has nothing to do with this incident because it's just like, yeah, blame it on Puffy so it could match the narrative of the East Coast West Coast thing. They're not going to have nothing, so it's kind of like they know it's not going to go nowhere. Shouldn't we be implementing Snoop more than Puffy, because he's part of that circle, you know, in my personal opinion. And I love Snoop Dogg, man. Doggy Style is my #1 favorite record of all time. Like, I'm gonna keep it real, but this just it's not looking in my eyes. I mean, come on, Snoop. Then Snoop has said nothing about this. He speaks on everything else, but not this.
RJ, I'm gonna let you handle that one.
Why? Okay, so I was rolling off a video file. Okay, so what I heard was
basically the question is, in a nutshell, why is Snoop? I mean, why is Diddy looked at as a potential co-conspirator in this case and not Snoop?
Well, I think if they were going to consider Diddy, they would consider Snoop, because if you got somebody that it wasn't even around, it wasn't even there at the time at the scene of the crime, it could be anybody. So why not Snoop if it's going to be Diddy? If you're just going to make up some boogeyman in the background that you say paid $1 million to have it done. I mean, see, Chuck Phillips tried this shit back in 1996, 1997. He tried to say that Biggie was the one to put up $1 million to have two, and he gave him a gun. That Biggie was in Vegas and gave the gun to them to shoot. Okay, that's how off the chain this thing is. So I would say, as far as Snoop goes, yeah, why not? If you could find a good reason to put him there or to have him involved and give him some reason. But see, the only thing I see from Snoop at this point, unless we dig deeper, and we're digging, but when you look at it, you got to realize that he's like a beneficiary. He's somebody that benefited from it. He benefited from the rewards of that, from things that happened there. And so he got something for it. Does that mean he planned it? Does that mean he executed it? Well, that's a different story. Just because somebody benefited from it, husband dies and the wife gets the estate, doesn't mean she killed him, but she certainly benefited from his death. You understand what I mean?
Right.
So that's the difference between saying that Snoop was or wasn't involved with it. We can look at his actions and say he had motive. There's no question about that. He had motive, but there was a lot of people that have motive, and you have to sort that out and say, okay, you benefited from it and you had motive. There's this thing in the middle called being there or being part of it. I just haven't seen that. Doesn't mean it doesn't.
What about the fact that Warren G said that he heard over Snoop's Nextel what was going on with Tupac over the speaker, and then later minutes later they got the call.
Yeah,
right.
Well, but that's
why would Snoop have that phone?
Well, according to Reggie, he gave all the artists phones. There was a phone for every artist.
So why Tupac ain't have one?
Well, because Kevin Hackey had it again. I guess I don't know. Yeah, again,
why did Suge have one?
But so I hope I answered your question. Okay, I mean, I think it's a way to look at it to say that certainly if somebody has motive and they could benefit from it, then yeah, they should be looked at. But
the Dog Pound and Snoop had more beef than Bad Boy did.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, 100%.
100%. Tupac.
Yep.
They had physical altercations, Pac in the Dog Pound.
Yep, 100%.
So So what he's saying is, why is we looking at Puffy when Snoop and them had more beef, beef with Pac than Puffy?
Well, you're asking the wrong guy, because I don't think Diddy had anything to do with it. I think Diddy walked into the Las Vegas Police Department. So I've heard. A couple weeks ago, Diddy walked into the Vegas PD and said, "Charge me or fuck off." And with his attorneys, and they didn't charge him. They just said nope, and they said and he left. So that's I don't think Diddy had anything to do with it. I just don't. None of my research has pointed anywhere near him. The only way you get to Diddy is through this bullshit about Zip Martin. That's the only way you get to Diddy, other than the fact that, like a lot of other people, he had motive. You know.
All right, hold on. OG Patrice.
Appreciate you, Darian. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, Darian, stick around. Hold on. OG Patrice, take it off mute.
Hey, how you doing, Choke? How you doing, RJ?
How you doing?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Be great.
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask a question, and I'm sorry, I'm late to the party, but are you the RJ that was friends with Frank Alexander?
I am.
Okay.
I am. Frank and I were best of friends until the day he died, and I was there the
Okay.
day he died.
And forgive me if you've said this already or repeated this, because I've heard about you, and I wanted to ask this question because I know that a week before the incident with Frank,
Yes.
he had spoken to my god brother, who is his nephew, and he was in good spirits. He said Frank was in good spirits. He was talking about coming home to Chicago to see family.
Is your
You
nephew?
know,
Is your nephew Leonard Earl?
no, my god brother, no, is Frank's nephew.
Got
His
it. Okay.
father and Frank's father are brothers, right?
Got it. Yep.
So, right. So, he spoke to Frank.
Mhm.
And I just want to ask your opinion, as close as the time frame that you spoke to Frank prior to his demise. What was his attitude and mindset and spirit, in your humble opinion?
Well, thank you for asking, Patrice. That's a great question, and I appreciate the kind words. You know, Frank, the week, I would say, even going back about a month before he passed, he had some turbulence in his marriage, because he made some choices that a man may make from time to time, and his wife wasn't too happy about it at the time. So he had some.
Yeah, and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I already know what you're talking.
yeah. So he had a little bit of that, but the reality is that, but a week before before he passed, he had actually moved past that. He had worked himself through the thing, and he was actually looking forward to. And in fact, he made a deal with Lisa Romanoff, who was his distributor, to get an advance check to get some money so he could post up and start moving forward and doing some of the things that he really wanted to do with himself. So your contact is not wrong when they said that Frank was in good spirits, because he, a month before, maybe a different story, but a week prior to, Frank was actually in a pretty good mood, because he had finally kind of put the nonsense behind him, accepted where he was at in his life, and he was moving in a positive direction. So, what's more to say? With the day he died, he just got home from the movies, and Frank loved to go to the movies. Frank was, that was one of his favorite things to do. If you're in a bad place, you don't often do things that would make you happy. So, he
Exactly. So my question to you, RJ, too, is, with Frank being military trained, it just, the whole scenario with his death is suspicious to me. And in your humble opinion, you can let me know what you think. For someone that has the military training that he had, was in good spirits up until at least a week, as close as for what I know, is being in good spirits, looking forward to coming home, seeing family. And it's my understanding that it was only him and his wife in the home when this incident happened. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay. So someone that's military trained and know all about how to break down a gun, put a gun up, know these different situations, do you not find his demise suspicious, seeing that prior to right after Pac's death, he was getting some death threats? I don't know if you know that.
Well, Frank was getting death threats. Frank was getting death threats through the 20 years that I knew him. He was getting death threats. That was kind of a day in the life for Frank, and that's why he had a CCW. There, CCW concealed carry cards to carry a weapon, a weapon that you can conceal is extremely difficult in the state of California. It's actually one of the most difficult things to get in the state of California is a CCW. But Frank made it very clear to the police and actually Brent Becker, Vegas PD, co-signed for him as a letter of reference on it to say that there wasn't a day that went by that Frank's life wasn't in some sort of danger. And people try to blow it off over the years, and because time kind of heals all that it doesn't. Frank was always concerned about that. There wasn't a day he wasn't looking over his shoulder. And the thing about it is because there aren't you can't just worry about the people that are the obvious ones. You can't worry about that. Right. It's somebody who would do something in the name of somebody else. So, if you get there's some sick motherfuckers out there that will to make them think that they're like, let's say somebody thinks that maybe Suge didn't like Frank. Okay, I'm not saying that's the case. Let's just pretend. That they might go do something against Frank to score points with Suge, even though that's not what Suge wanted, or maybe that wouldn't be that. These guys are sick in the head. They think that that's the way to do it. There's been a lot of celebrities that have been attacked by sick people because they think that they're doing something that's going to impress their idol. Okay. So Frank was always worried. It wasn't even that he was worried about Suge or he was worried about Reggie per se. He was more worried about these idiots that follow those guys and are sick in the head. People that are smart people will understand Suge for who he is, maybe understand Reggie for who he is, but it's the sick ones that you have to worry about. So Frank was constantly on alert for all that. So that was to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, he was, but
you being his friend, if I may interject here, you being his friend, I don't know if I've ever heard you spoken on your thoughts or take on the demise of Frank. Do you find that in any way suspicious?
It's been a long time. I think the one time that I went off on everything was I did a show called the Murder Master Music Show. And it's probably still around. I did probably almost an hour-long interview about it, about the whole thing. And yes, I still have my own reservations about things. I still have my own suspicions and unresolved questions. I fought very hard. He died in the city of Murrieta, which is a small town in Southern California. And they have their own police department, and they have their own city hall, and they have their own city attorney and all that. I fought like hell to get a copy of Frank Alexander's death report, the closure of the report. And you can usually get those through a FOIA, or you can do that. I actually went and filed a court case and actually subpoenaed them to get those records, and they wouldn't give them to me. And they kept saying, and they used the Vegas thing like, it's an open investigation. Well, no, if you say he shot himself, it's not an open investigation. That's closed. It's as closed as you're going to get. He killed himself. End of story. That's it. So why wouldn't you give that? That's the only detail that matters. Then who cares? You can give the report out, and that's the end of it. I asked them. They stonewalled me every step of the way to that I never got a copy of the report. Never got it. The other thing was, and I've been pretty vocal about this. Choke, I don't want to overrun your show. I don't want to.
No, because I like she's asking you questions that I was going to ask you, and then my man Homeboy, he wants to know the same thing. How the hell did Frank die?
Well, I will tell you this, Frank. I learned of Frank's death at, I'm going to say, it was about 6 o'clock in the morning. I got a call from Leonard Earl, OG Patrice. I don't know if you know who that is, but I got a call from Leonard Earl, who was Tupac's nephew. Frank's nephew. Boy, you get my players mixed up here. Was Frank's nephew, and he told me that Frank was gone. He was very upset. Told me Frank was gone, and I was just getting to work. It was like 6 in the morning, so I, without even thinking about it, I just jumped in the car, and it takes me about an hour to get there, but I drove to Frank's house. It took me about an hour. So I got to Frank's house probably about 7:30 in the morning. And he had allegedly shot himself somewhere in the area of like 9:30, 10 o'clock. It was later in the evening. Okay. And what I didn't understand was when I got there, I sat out in the front for a long time until his wife came out. And no sooner that I did that than all of a sudden this car pulls up and it's Kevin Hackey. And I was glad to see Kevin Hackey. Kevin Hackey just showed up out of the blue.
Mhm.
And because he had heard, word got around pretty quick. I think Leonard may have even called him. But word got around real quick, and Kevin was there. He got there about maybe 8:30 or so. He got there with a check in his hand for Frank's wife, because sometimes when somebody passes away, it's hard. They lock the bank accounts up. It's hard to get money. So Kevin showed up with a check that was money that he would owed Frank for doing some work for him. And he showed up there with a check. And of course, being Kevin, he also wanted to know what the hell was going on. So we sat out there, and for the longest time, Kevin and I just kind of sat on the porch crying. I mean, what else are you going to do? And then finally, Debbie Alexander, his wife, said to me, "Do you want to see where it happened?" And that's a loaded question, because, you know, when you're thinking about memories that you're going to have of your friend and memories you're going to have of a loved one, you know, when you think about how he's alleged to have died with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, we all watch enough TV. We see CSI. We know what that's about, and we know what it would look like. And
So what RJ, what was her state of mind and attitude, and how was she? Was she hysterical, calm, like
well, she wasn't hysterical. She was upset, but she wasn't hysterical, and she had her daughter and her son-in-law there to kind of be with her, but they were very protective. And finally, in fact, they weren't even going to let me in the front gate. This daughter and the son-in-law weren't even going to let me in until I saw Debbie, and I yelled over at Debbie, and she said, "Yeah, you can let him in." But understand that Debbie and I did not always have the greatest of relationships. You're never going to. I'm Frank's buddy, so sometimes wives have that dynamic there. It's kind of a weird thing, but anyway, her state of mind was not hysterical, uncontrollable, none of that. She was coping with it well, and she came down and she said, "You know, do you want to see where it happened?" And I thought about it for a long time, and then I finally said, "Yeah, I do. I do want to see where it happened."
Now, at this time, is the body still there?
No.
Oh, okay.
They had come. They took him away probably 2 in the morning or so, 2 or 3 in the morning. Okay, and that's important that you ask that question, because they were done. You know, they have to do all their police work and all that kind of stuff, and then the coroner has to show up and they have to do their thing, and it takes a long time, several hours. And so I said, "Yeah, I do. I want to go in and see it." And so she took me down to where it happened. Now, the interesting thing about where she said that it happened, because it was only him and her, the interesting thing about where she said it happened was Frank had a basement in his house, which was a full out basement, all built out. And so he had a pool table down there, security cameras, and a workout room, but he also had his office down there. And I can't begin to tell you, Patrice, the number of hours that I had spent in that office with him. I mean, everything from just nutting around to doing story ideas to talking about what our next projects were going to be, just to hanging out. That was his den. That office was kind of his den. That was his world. And even when Frank wasn't there, like I'd come over to the house and Frank would be at the grocery store or something like that. And Debbie would say, "Well, just go wait down in his office for him." And I'd go down there and I'd just hang out and wait for Frank to get back. When he get back, everything was fine. But see, I've been into that office a million times and knew it like the back of my hand. In fact, the funny thing about that office was people don't know this. Frank had OCD really bad. And so for Frank, if you took, and I used to fuck with him all the time like this, if a pen was out of place, he would know it. He could look at his desk and know if the pen that he put up there at this corner of the desk was on that corner of the desk. If I turned that pen just a little bit, it would totally fuck him up. He'd have to go there and go, "Oh," and he'd go back and he'd turn the pen back, because that's OCD. That's what you do. So, and I had lived with Frank for a period of time, so I got that. And I was merciless about fucking with him on that too. I'd take and hide things from him and do all kinds of craziness just to fuck with his head. So that was our relationship. That's what friends do, right? So I guess I say all that to say that I knew this office like the back of my hand, okay, as well as I know my own. And I went down there and I looked around in his office, and the one thing that I didn't see was any signs of, I was expecting mayhem. I was expecting cast off blood on the walls. I was expecting brain chunks on the wall, blood on the carpet. But you know, when you blow your brains out, there's damage. And you basically, you know, cops call it redecorating the room. Okay. I expected to see that, and I had braced myself for seeing that. And when I walked into that room, and I would take a polygraph any day of the week. When I walked into that room, it looked like Frank wasn't there. That's it. There was no blood on the walls. There was no cast off on the walls. There was no sign of anything that had happened in that room where it allegedly happened in that room. There was nothing there. It just looked like Frank wasn't there. It looked like any other time I went down to the office and I was standing there in the middle of that room. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I'm standing in that room and I'm absolutely fucking baffled because I'm expecting the worst.
Well, was this had forensics been there? Had the cleanup people been there?
Well, see, now that's
already.
But that's the problem with that, because when I said, well, I don't understand, and his wife said, oh, the cleaning crew's already been here. Well, okay, so here's the problem with that. Of course, now you see, got to remember, he got together with me as an investigator to do the Tupac stuff. So don't think I'm not going to put them same critical thinking skills on this thing. And then they said, so she said the cleaning crew's there, and I said, well, wait a minute. First off, because I think it was it a Sunday to a Monday? It was either a Sunday to Monday or it was a weekday, like a weekday night. And the one thing I can tell you about the world and how it works is that unless you are a retail store that like Macy's that has to open in the morning and you have business in the morning, you might be able to pay a crew some ungodly amount of money to come in and clean the shit up before you have to open for business that day. Okay. It's not like death cleaning crews are a dime a dozen, because you have to deal with cleaning crews that are specially licensed by the state board of health. They're dealing with toxic materials because it's
they dealing with blood and
they're dealing with human waste. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so even picking up chunks of brain matter that would be on the carpet or would be on the wall, that you have to have a special cleaning crew for that. And those guys are not cheap. And by the way, the city doesn't offer that as like a free benefit. Anybody who knows anything about any city they've lived in, that if you want that stuff cleaned, you hire the people to do it. The city does not come in and just clean that up. Okay, they'll take the body out of there, but everything else that's left that's on you. That's for you to clean up. Okay, they don't have a special cleaning crew that they call out and they show up in the white wagon and the crew comes out in the beekeeper suits and cleans up the hazmat. It's not like that. You have to retain a company that does that, and there are companies that do. But my point is that when do you have time to do that when the shooting happens in the early to late evening, sometime in that time frame, and they're not done until 2:00 in the morning? Now I'm there at 7 o'clock. I'm 5 hours. Okay. Even if the cleaning crew were really good at what they do, I doubt they'd be done in 5 hours. Okay. Because it takes a while to do all of that.
I would doubt that the investigation would be done that fast, that they will rule it. Oh, all right, boom, 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 suicide real quick, boom, 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 and clean up everything, the crime scene and everything within 5 hours.
Well, that's that exactly. So, and I've said this for years. I've said this before, so I'm not betraying any confidences or anything like that, because I've said this before. My biggest
RJ,
yes.
Have you spoken to any other of Frank's family members other than Leonard?
No, I haven't. I haven't had the opportunity to. Well, actually, you know what? That's true and not true. I spoke with Frank's brother at his funeral. I was not invited to, and this should tell you everything you need to know. I was not invited to the after party or the wake.
Repass. The repass.
The repass. I was not invited. I was specifically not invited to that.
Really?
And yeah, I went to the funeral, and technically I wasn't even invited to the funeral, but I said, fuck them, let them throw me out. And, and I saw Kenny Archer was there, Les Baldwin was there, all these people that I had done.
Was Kevin there? Because I know Kevin and Frank knew each other from way back from Chicago. They went to school together, grew up together, basically.
Yep. Yeah, Kevin was there. Kevin Lewis, you're talking about. Kevin, not Kevin Hackett.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, he was there. And so I got some pictures with Frank's brother. He's a good dude, great dude. And unfortunately, that was the last, the last I ever saw of any of that family.
Wow.
But I was specifically disinvited.
Before you move forward, right? Okay, because I'm trying to understand. How did Frank die? Where did they say the gunshot wound was inflicted? Like, what's the story?
Well, let me see if I've got her book. She wrote a book about it, actually. The wife did.
Now, when you went there, fuck all that. When you went there and you talked to her face to face and you said what happened, what did she say?
She said that he had come back from the movies and that he was in a kind of a foul mood, and they got into fighting like they do, and they had been fighting a lot. In fact, he used to I would say, again, even though I said he was in a happy place and he was moving on and everything, it doesn't mean that there wasn't fighting. There wasn't tension going on. Okay. And it got ugly to the point where Frank would literally call me on the phone and just put the phone down so that I could listen to and witness what was being said and the screaming that was going on. Because the one thing, I mean, it was some real Mata Hari shit as far as I was concerned, where she was saying, well, you know what, I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna kill me. And she would say these things to him, like God is gonna take us. And she used to couch things in scriptural ways, like, God's watching out for you and God's judgment's gonna be on you. And she would say these crazy things. And Frank would literally call me on the phone and put the phone down. What do you say a word to me? Just put the phone on the table and just let me hear what was going on. And it was some batshit crazy Pentecostal spiritual shit.
RJ, I would really, if I can keep in touch with you or even through Choke, because his family, who I know very well, they have reservations and they was never able to get like some clear answers, even just things you saying here on this panel. So I would like that very much.
I still need to hear.
Okay, so anyway, so here's the magical chain of events. Somehow Frank called me and he asked me one day, because he was in Amsterdam. This was about a month prior. He asked me, because I know a lot about computers, he asked me if I could get into his computer at home. And I said, no, I can't. I'd love to. I wish I could, but I can't. I'm not, you didn't sign me into where I could do that. And I said, what's going on? And he says, well, I'm worried that Debbie's going to get in my computer and she's going to find out about some tomcatting that I've been doing and some things like that. And no sooner had he said that than magically she figured out his password, and magically she said God told her how to get into the computer, and she got into the computer. She found out about all that. That's what started the fights. That's really kind of what started this whole thing. Well, later on, and she even wrote this in her book, and it was just the craziest thing. Frank had even said to me that somehow, and this is what he was still baffled by, that somehow she had also figured out the combination to his gun safe. Okay, now, Frank I didn't know the combination was gun safe. He never told her, and she admitted she didn't know the combination of the gun safe. She said that God told her the combination to the gun safe. Okay, so Frank knew that she knew how to get into the gun safe. Now, to answer your question, Choke, about how he died, Frank had a strange role-playing game that he would do and I'm not going to put any wax on this because it is what it is. People are people. Okay. People do dumb things. Frank had this thing that he did where he would pull out a gun and he would say to his girlfriend or to whomever, his wife, whomever like that, "You want me to go? I'll just fucking blow my brains out. And you really want that?" And of course, the response was always, "No, no, no, don't do that. Put the gun away. Put the gun away." Everybody that knew Frank, his close personal friends, everybody knew that. In fact, I was the last one to know that that was something that he did. In fact, when I talked to one of his closer friends, Rob Castle, he was like, "What? You didn't know that?" I'm like, "No, I didn't. I didn't even know he did that." But he did that, and this was apparently one of those times where he played that card. And there's always a saying, "Don't forget about the one in the chamber." Okay. You can have an empty clip laying beside your gun. You can load that clip in there and you can pull the trigger back. If there's one in the chamber, you'll get shot. But and that sometimes can be, and that's why they tell you this in the military, because I got told that a million times. Make sure you clear the chamber. Make sure you clear the chamber. And I'm not saying that this is what happened, but I will say this, that if it was possible for someone to get into the gun safe and put one round in the chamber, cycle around in the chamber, for all intents and purposes, that gun looks empty. And if I'm somebody who puts an empty clip in a gun thinking I'm going to play around with somebody and I'm going to pull the trigger back and you're expecting to get a click and there's one in the chamber that you don't know about, sayonara. That's how that goes. So she obviously was cleared by police, so I can't, I don't want to get sued over saying anybody did something that they've been cleared of. So I'm not saying she did or didn't have anything to do with it, other than the fact that there were other circumstances that you and I can talk about offline that raise my suspicions a little bit more than just to say that when you have access to somebody's guns and somebody's gun safe, and you know the kind of games that they play because you've been married to them for a long time, you know what they're going to do. It would be very easy to put up a situation in which, like, for example, I mean, if my wife knows that every night at 3 a.m. I go downstairs and I eat a donut because I'm hungry in the middle of the night, but I never turn the lights on. If she wants to put thumbtacks all over the floor, she knows I don't turn the lights on. So guess what? I'm going to step on them thumbtacks, and that's my fault because I didn't look to see where I was walking now, isn't it? Those poor thumbtacks just happened to be there. So when you say, yes, he was responsible, the cops say he put a gun to his head, he shot himself, the GSR is all over his own arm, it's clear that that's what he did. Lazy cops, and we're talking about that because we're talking about Vegas being lazy cops, okay? Lazy cops just stop it right there and say, okay, that's it. That's all we need to know. Case closed. He shot himself. That's all. They don't ask, how did he shoot himself? They don't ask, why might he shoot himself? They don't ask, was there any other bullets in the gun? That's what I was trying to figure out. Was there a loaded clip? Was there a loaded clip? A semi-automatic weapon? Was there a loaded clip?
I thought you said he had security cameras down there.
He did. He
So
had
what
security.
happened?
He had security cameras all over. Well, I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm
saying that nobody ever thought that this was captured on video.
It could have been, but you have to ask the person who's living in the house and who knows where all the videos are. And I'm sure maybe the cops asked him. But see, the cops, when you pull a trigger on yourself, the cops stop asking questions.
Right.
Because it's case closed. There's no foul play, allegedly, if you shot yourself. Because at the end of the day, he did shoot himself. But my question is, like Patrice's question is, how is it that with everything that you knew about how weapons are used and how to tear them down and build them back up again and do that, how does that happen? Unless you really want to shoot yourself, how does that happen? Well, there's a lot of things that beg that question. But like I said before, the only thing that made sense in my mind, and again, I'm not saying it was intentional. I'm not saying it was accidental. I'm not saying any of that, but to say that the only way that a scenario could have existed with Frank knowing about what he knows about weapons in general was that he failed to clear the one in the chamber.
And see, and RJ, that was my whole issue when I was talking to Choke about that earlier. As somebody that is military trained as he is, know ins and outs about weapons, I still can't foresee that part of it.
Well, but again, even military guys, and this is the thing, and so I say that squad drill instructor tell you a million times because it's easy to do, especially if you're in a hurry or you're not paying attention. Oftentimes you take a clip out of the gun and you don't cycle that chamber first. Okay, you see it in the movies all the time where they click the hand slide. They're cycling the chamber. If somebody doesn't do that, you can put a clip in a gun, and you don't automatically, when you pull the trigger, if there's already one in the chamber, you haven't cycled anything. So with Frank, if he didn't know, if he put an empty clip in the gun, okay. And I never got that information to say, well, was there a full clip or was it an empty clip? Because if it was an empty clip, then the only thing that could have killed him was one that was already in the chamber. And to say that Frank didn't know that there wasn't one in the chamber, you only got one of two conclusions. Either somebody put it there and he didn't know about it, or he forgot about it.
Bingo.
Okay.
That was that. Yes.
Now,
RJ, this is as for opinion. Choke, love your show. I just want to speculate and add to the logic and realism of the situation. I really feel like in this situation, Frank, being the man that he was and coming from where he came from, he had been through a lot. He had a great moment in his life when he became bodyguard of Tupac Shakur. The loss of Shakur was a major toll on him that even giving interviews and even speaking on it, he had thoughts that he knew and he was trying to piece together himself.
Mm-hmm.
And along with what he had already been through in his life, that might have been a moment that he kind of, that if I could go back in time moment,
Well, he had a lot of those.
Right, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, from what I know, basically, it was like that kind of atoned to him, and he had thoughts on it. And certain things when you're dealing with certain people and certain things and your thoughts and who you can address with this, and if it'd get too big and you might be going down a rabbit hole or whatnot, it was something that he felt like, either I'm gonna speak on it or I'm gonna take it with me.
Mm-hmm.
And in his relationship with his wife, I feel like that was something else that you deal with in a marriage, and your better half will know who you are and know how to deal with you as well as your friends. And at the moment, he may have taken his life or anything else that happened, it was ruled out the way it was ruled out. But in her inviting you into the home, there are moments when you lose someone and it's a passing point, or like some family members call it a closing the chapter point, that this was your friend. You had your moments. Y'all have y'all history, y'all secrets, things I never knew about and I'll never know about, but that was my husband. Do you want to be with him in his last moments or places in this house? Because after this moment, probably our dealings is done and you may not never ever come back here. So this is me trying to let you be with your friend and have whatever you can in his passing. Now, after that, people usually have ways that they think, oh, that's dealing with loss. And loss leads to things that you might speculate. But like you also said, we have questions, but certain law enforcement have ruled certain things out. But I think that Frank Alexander was a great man. He did great things. He had a moment in time.
I miss him every day. I miss him every day. Every day I miss him.
He had a moment in time where, along with the death row days and whatever, it gave him a certain inlight, a high life of his, but it was something that he was like, man, if we would have did this like I thought, or if like I said, or like I had notion to, because of my instinct, because what I'm trained to do, maybe certain things would have went certain ways, but that is a guilt point that holds on to us even after certain passings and certain happenings. And he has to deal with that in the way that he dealt with it, whether he did or whether he didn't, but how it was ruled out. I feel like Frank was just a man that had his own part of history in what we look at as this Puff and this Tupac Biggie situation that really all didn't have to happen, because I feel like even in Pac's situation, he had seen this before. I have just been shot coming to record in the studio where y'all baited me for money. Now I made it up here. Y'all got my money. Okay, but I'm still breathing. Now I get out of jail, go through my trials, tribulations, and I head to the West.
Right.
And y'all are still pulling me with this same rhetoric when I was on the East. You can't, and now you're using certain entities in this territory to try to bait me even more. And that was a breaking point for him in that casino when it all hit his mind, because he's seeing and knowing what's going on. He's at a passionate point because he was a passionate individual. It wasn't no gang banging. It was the fact that I see this plot that has risen from these same individuals, and I've tried to get away from you. I took cases for you. I had guns for you. I caught a case over a woman for you. You shot me. You robbed me. And now I'm out here, and now y'all trying to put out robberies on chains to get me to know this, to let y'all, like y'all are a real threat out here. And in the imminent moment, it created a chain reaction. And that chain reaction leads on to different speculations of lines that we all have of what could have happened and what, but certain things are as is. But we know.
I think that there was a. I appreciate, and I appreciate everything you said, man. I mean, you've spoken some truth there. You know, Frank was a guy. He always called it the what if game, and I actually got him to say it on camera because I had heard it so many times. He called it the what if game. You know, what if I was able? What if I'd had my gun? What if I was able to do things differently? You know, what if I never worked for Reggie Wright? You know, things like that. And you know, he was tortured by that. The good news was, in doing the movies as we did them, he started to turn that corner from being a victim to actually seeking to understand that there was so much more around him than just what seemed to be at the moment in time. Okay. Frank became more and more curious about the bigger picture, because again, you know, when you're a bodyguard, sometimes you just deal with what is, and you're all kind of in a small microcosm in that. You don't see the other pieces moving around the chessboard around you. And so as he did, and he started with Before I Wake, which I was just loosely involved with. When he started with Before I Wake, and then we did the assassination movies after that, you know, his awareness, I call it spatial awareness. His spatial awareness went from a phone booth to an amphitheater in terms of what he was able to see. Like when you get a satellite from 50,000 feet, you see how the earth moves and the clouds and all that. He was able to see that from much greater altitude, and it gave him the suspicions. Now, there's a lot of people, like in Patrice's case, where, you know, they were talking about how Frank in his last week was actually pretty upbeat. The thing about it was, you know, you got this clown on the other side of things saying that Frank wanted to apologize to him. Well, here's the thing about it. If Frank's going to apologize to you and everything's going to be hunky-dory, there's no motivation for him to shoot himself. Okay. And so I look at that as saying, you know, that was never going to happen, because anybody knows.
So wait, are you talking about Reggie?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Did Frank ever talk to you about when allegedly, and I'm just gonna say allegedly because I don't know for sure, that Pac had fired Reggie, but he still wanted to keep Frank on? You knew about that, right?
Yeah, he's the one who gave me, Frank is the one who gave me the copy of the letter, and I didn't put it out because I couldn't validate it as being real. Frank had it, but it was a photocopy, so I couldn't validate it as being real. But I've had it, you know, this wasn't a new thing. I've had that letter for almost 20 years. But what I was going to say is that Reggie kept Frank on, and even after the shooting happened, and Reggie was the first one when Suge threw the phone down when Tupac died, and he threw the phone down by the pool, and Reggie told Frank, "You need to get out of here. You need to leave." Originally, Frank thought that was a favor being done for him. You need to get out of here because Suge's going off. He's going crazy. You need to get out of here because they're going to blame you for all this.
RJ, can I interject just for a second?
Yeah.
I think that was a play that many didn't peep. Back then, I think Right Way was trying to make a move to executively take over, at least on a certain area, territory, or coast of security. So we know what we know what's coming in. We're getting money. And if you got certain guys that are like, because Pac wanted Frank, you see what I'm saying? Because he had some type of trust in Frank.
Right.
He's seen some non-trust, or he's seen something, and he didn't want Right Way. But he knew my big road dog is dealing with them. So they're going to be around, but I choose Frank.
Well,
I think that was an executive decision on Right Way, trying to force out or trying to maneuver Frank and other security.
Oh yeah. Well, Frank, he didn't put Frank on any other celebrities because I don't think there was any other celebrities left to bodyguard at that point. But he put Frank out by an old abandoned church that he had a contract with. But see, I don't look at it like a lot of other people do. I don't look at it as any favor. I think that they wanted to keep Frank close because as long as Frank's working for the dude, and as long as Frank's getting paid by the guy, and as long as that guy is telling him, "Hey, I'm saving your ass because Suge wants you dead," and I'm the only thing stopping that from happening because I'm your buddy. That's the person you don't trust. Okay, you see that game in all kinds of movies like that, where the one guy who's saying that he's the Godfather. The guy who says that he's going to make peace with you, he's your enemy. The guy who's trying to broker a deal is the one that's the middleman. He's the one who's going to screw you over. So that whole thing about him giving Frank work that he likes to brag about and keeping Frank around, that was no favor, because you obviously, if Frank's out of the picture and you ain't paying Frank, asking Frank to lie for you and asking Frank to go to Vegas and identify Orlando Anderson, things like that, you could never do that because he would have been gone. He would have been disconnected from it. So I don't think anybody was doing Frank any favors. I think Frank might have felt that at the time, because when you're caught up in to your point, when you're caught up in the emotion of all of it and you're feeling like, hey, my friend just got killed. Everybody's looking at me. I feel a little guilt over it myself. Even if it's irrational guilt, I feel guilty. Then you tend to look at anybody who's doing things that maybe they're trying to help you, because it never occurred to Frank until years later that some of these same players could have had ulterior motives, and maybe that their intentions.
Make him the fall guy. Make him the fall guy.
RJ, you said it yourself, and it was really that they couldn't get rid of Frank because he trusted Frank.
Right. Well, and everybody that I talked to, Frank Black, and all the people that I've talked to at Death Row Records that were like the rank and file people from Death Row Records, they said that the only way you talked to Tupac was through Frank. They said if there was anybody that could explain something to Pac, it was Frank Alexander. That if you wanted to get Tupac's attention, you had to go through Frank, because Tupac wouldn't give you his attention by default. He would, and especially if there was anything that you needed to talk to him about, Frank knew how to get him to the studio on time. Frank knew how to do those things. Frank understood the record business pretty well. And I've got multiple interviews with people that say that if there was anybody that had Pac's ear, it was Frank Alexander. So
let me tell you something. The only reason Reggie told Pac to get out of there during that meeting was so Suge couldn't question him and find out the truth.
Right, because
that's all that was.
Yeah, because
That's
later on, later on, they didn't invite Frank to that meeting that Michael Moore said that they had at Death Row Records. Well, the artist and Suge came up asking what the hell happened, and they were questioning security, where it was Michael Moore, Reggie Wright, and Al Gittins, I think, was the other one that was there at that meeting. And the purpose of that meeting, and that's what Michael Moore said, that Reggie told them to lie about what was going on. Oh, by the way, the guy who only lied once. that he told them to lie about not carrying their weapons. Okay.
RJ.
Yeah.
So,
RJ, question. Bodyguard. That's the closest thing close to me, right? So that's the closest thing I trust, right?
You have to.
Is with my life.
Yep.
They couldn't get rid of Frank. It's not that he's saying, "Oh, we threw him odd jobs to keep him around." No, the fact still remains you couldn't get rid of Frank, and he's the number one bodyguard for the number one person on death row.
Yeah, I don't think that Suge had it in for Frank. In fact, I think that Suge asked about Frank a lot.
He did.
Okay? Yeah, Frank Suge liked Frank because Suge was a bodyguard himself. So, he understood when somebody's got game, they recognize game. When they're a good bodyguard, they recognize another good bodyguard. He got all the right moves, got all the right instincts.
Remember, he told Reggie to put Frank and Michael Moore on Pac.
He said send 5 guys from Club 662. Suge said send 5 guys from Club 662 after the MGM thing. Okay, never happened.
Reggie said nobody.
Never happened. Well, you look at Reggie's grand jury testimony. It's my favorite clip of the whole thing. He says, I went to the MGM. I saw how bad it was, and I was already having problems and getting feedback from my security staff. So I went to the club.
So what does that tell you right there?
Didn't care.
That there's conflict in between the own security. There's competition or conflict between our own security.
Yep.
Yeah. Then also with Tupac firing Regina, that's what I want to call it, Regina. He actually said like if dude want to fire me, then fuck dude. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
That's what he said. Like and then when they had Yasmin had presented because at first Regina said that he didn't know, but then where was it at Keyshawn Johnson's draft party? He actually Suge said, "Yo, where the people at?" He like, "Man, dude, fire me." Well, Suge like, "Well, nigga, I'm the one that's paying you the money." So like,
yep.
Where
he said that.
you at?
But I can tell you a story.
And all that he gonna have to deal in on this trial with his lies. All that shit gonna come back.
Do y'all think that with everything? Because as we seen with the Nipsey case and Choke, you did one hell of a job, boy. I tell you that, man. Do you think that they're listening to YouTube? Do you think that like, do we need to sign a petition or like, what do we need to get Regina locked up? Because he keep on lying, and then in some of his clips, I don't know if y'all noticed, he keeps on going back. It was 2 shooters. I mean, 4 shooters. I mean 2 shooters, and then 4. I mean, the dude's like, I don't know if it's his swollen feet is like catching up with his brain, or like what is it? Like, what is it gonna take for us to get this dude incarcerated? I mean, at least indicted.
I think that he works for the police, like RJ said, and he's better to them on the streets than in jail.
Yeah, I think that there's as far as guilt goes, the person who robs the bank, the person that opens the door for the person that robs the bank is every bit as guilty. I think that's what the prosecutors are saying. So, if the person who takes away the weapons and the person who takes away the communications and knows about it but decides to ignore it, and that was the big reveal in the thing. We've been saying this for years. Thank God he was stupid and told himself, he D'd himself, okay, by saying, I knew that all these security problems were there, but I didn't care. I went to the club instead, okay? My security staff was already having trouble. When you see somebody drowning and you turn around and walk the other way and go play pool, that's on you. That death is on your hands.
That's right.
Only in America is there immunity.
Yep. So, yeah. But anyway, so Patrice, what I always tell everybody, you can reach me.
Yes.
Always, RJ Bond, what I know at outlook.com. Again, it's RJ Bond, what I know, all one word, at outlook.com. Feel free to reach out to me. Anybody.
I will do that. Thank you. And Choke, I did send you that email.
Yeah,
So-
I see it. I got you. I'm gonna hit you back when I get off.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I gotta go back down, but thank you. I will be reaching out, or either have the family of Frank Alexander to reach out to you directly, RJ. But thank you so much.
I would.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I would love
Patrice.
some.
I remember I met Frank. I didn't know that was Frank until I seen some old pictures when they came to Camelot at Forest City Mall when I was like 11, 12. I don't know if you remember, he did the All Eyes on Me when Tupac was signing the autographs.
In Chicago.
Yeah, I was there. He's
That's
your
Frank's
uncle?
backyard.
No, he's my god brother's uncle. But yeah.
He took a picture for me, and I remember, man, he was a cool dude. He was like, hey, my man's in the you and what's that, in White Sox territory with Chicago Cubs gear on, and but he's like, but I respect your
He
balls
was
pretty much.
cool, but
Yeah, he was a
yeah, because
cool
the
cat.
only one time that I ever went to Death Row is when he was bodyguard in Park. Like I said, I was in the studio, but I never met Park. He wouldn't even let me go back there. So, and I was hanging out with Jewel at the time. So,
Yeah,
but it's
and
all good. Yeah, he's cool people.
he's
He
a
was.
and that guy Harry he's a cool cat also. Him, Snoop, Warren G for the Wiz Khalifa tour. Harry had popped up in Austin, and he seems like a cool cat, man. I mean, I don't know too much, but I mean,
Right.
I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of drunk, so hey, I shot for it. I was like, hey man, what y'all think about the Keefe D thing? And it's kind of like they all started laughing, like like that's when I knew, like, that this is a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a joke, and I ain't talking about choke, but I'm talking about this is like literally a joke. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I appreciate it. I gotta go, Choke, reach out. We gotta have a conversation. RJ, I would definitely be if I don't reach out, I have Frank's family to reach out to you directly. I would think that they would love to hear more information and stories you have about Frank. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, OG.
All right, have a good night, y'all.
All right, good night. All right, hold on. Wolverine, go ahead. What you got to say?
What's going on? What's going on? Appreciate y'all. Appreciate all y'all. Mr. Bond, thank you for your time, of course. Of course, like I say, this is just a remarkable ongoing case, right? Because this is really like the cases of the century, right? Because one is so symbiotic with the other that it's one of those things that it's going to intrigue and captivate people from now and even afterwards. I mean, this is a perfect case for everybody who's actually in law school and the police academy to actually break down and see all the things that's gone right and wrong in this case. But I believe that at the end of the day, that Greg Kading needs to be brought up on federal charges, because if you listen to it, it's clear as can day that there's no possible way that this man who started this whole chain of events should get away with a book deal with millions of dollars, with supposedly the celebrity of solving a case when he was a terrible police officer. So he has changed his whole trajectory of his career and put himself back into a good light, all under the premise of a lie. And even at the beginning of the actual Keefe D tape, you listen to it, he tells you this time. This is that you can tell, because the very first thing they say in the tape is this time, meaning that they've done this before. They've had conversations, recorded this before. So
They talked about this a lot before. They had many conversations about what he was going to say in that session before it ever happened. They had many conversations.
And the mere fact that the feds didn't pick this up from them. This has been a federal case. There's been a mere fact that they should have dropped a racketeering case, a RICO case. They had so many different reasons to drop a federal case, and it didn't happen. But like you said, since we know for a fact Reginald Wright is a federal informant, Reginald Wright is a local informant, right? On his last case, he did a downward departure. Let's call it a safety valve. Everybody can look that up. Yes, I don't understand how he's running with WAC 100, who sits there and outs everybody for snitching, but he's running with this guy who literally did the same exact thing that he's pointing out everybody else is doing.
Well, he's having trouble right now. That snitch jacket's kind of a little tight for him right now. He's kind of moving around uncomfortable in it because it's a little bit binding right now. And, because anybody who's going to make a video, he's like, if you think I'm a snitch, and fuck y'all. Well, that's what snitches say. That's what they say. I mean, that's what more do you want? I mean, as far as Kading goes, my feelings about Kading run deep. A lot of people don't know this, but I filed a couple of internal affairs complaints with the LAPD about Kading. They ended up, LAPD got him, and they ended up ratting me out like they always do. They leak them. And we're like, Frank, this is perfect for you. You got all this privacy, security. You got a fence around it. Ain't nobody going to come up to your house. You got, a half a mile between your house and the road. You can see people coming. Perfect for you. And we got to the end of the driveway, and we noticed that the driveway turned in to go towards the house. And then there was the driveway actually also made like a Y turn, and it went into this like hillside place. It just kind of veered off into the woods. And Frank and I looked at the realtor, and I said, where does this road go? Does that road go to the rest of his property? And the realtor said, no, that goes back to all the other houses that are back there. And they all share that road. And Frank and I said, wait a minute. So this is Frank's driveway, but everybody's got to use his driveway to get to their house? And he said, yeah, it's a shared driveway. And I told Frank, I'm like, well, fuck that. What we'll do is we'll put a toll booth on the front because it's your property that thing sits on. And any of them motherfuckers want to go back to their house, they can just pay you a toll. And you can get little toll man uniform, and you could stand there. You could just make money collecting toll for these people that want to go back to their house. And he just thought that was the damn funniest thing that we'd ever talked about, was the idea of him sitting in a toll booth all day, collecting toll from his neighbors that wanted to use his driveway. And we got to one night, we were talking about that, and we got to laughing so hard over that stupid story that we just couldn't stop laughing. I don't know if you ever gotten one of those with your friends where you just can't stop laughing. No matter what you do, you just can't stop laughing. And it was late at night when we were talking about this, and we were laughing and hollering up, just couldn't stop laughing. And I didn't realize it, but we woke up my wife, who was pregnant at the time, and she comes downstairs, and she's got the mask with all the shit on her face, and comes downstairs, and she starts yelling at us about, you guys, you need to be better with people when they're trying to sleep. She goes upstairs, and Frank and I look at each other, and we go, and we started laughing our asses off even more. So when I think of Frank, I think about those. I think about the stories like that with Frank. We had some good times, to be sure. Anyway, well, I don't know where Choke is. What happened to Choke? I didn't want to dominate this conversation. RJ turned this into the Tupac Assassination Channel Live. Yeah. Wow. Well, I see some people in the conversations there. Let's see here.
What's the topic of the chat?
There's a lot of people saying some good stuff there. Let's see. Chuck, look up the Johnny J story. Johnny J's another good story too. I wish I could get into that one too. I mean, dude jumps off the roof of a prison. How'd he get there? Well, we got Choke no joke in his empty chair. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, Choke's still on the phone, but Choke's going to lose a lot of his listeners if he's going to leave it up to me, because I'm terrible about holding an audience. Let's see.
Hey, don't be talking bad about me, RJ. I'm right here.
No. I said if you had to,
I'm really dealing with a fire right now.
Oh no, yeah, no. I said if you had to rely on me to keep an audience, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm getting off. I got to go. I got to handle some business here.
Hey, you know what, guys? It's been great. Listen, we appreciate and love all of you. Thank you for allowing me to hang out with you guys for a little bit.
Yo, I'm sorry, y'all. I really got an emergency, man. RJ, I'm going to hit you up.
Hit me up. Talk to you soon. Take care, guys.